There's one thing Taurus does better than any other sign, and almost no one recognizes it as a skill, because from the outside, it just seems, wait. But it's not that. Not in the way people think when they use that word. Taurus doesn't wait passively. Taurus accumulates. While the world around them moves in circles, undoing decisions and retracing routes, Taurus stays there, firm, with that immobility that some call stubbornness and others strength. And within that immobility, something grows. It becomes heavier, more burdened. That feeling that there's something big inside you that hasn't yet found the right moment to come out. You know that feeling, don't you? It's almost physical, like pressure, like a force pushing from within without finding a way out. And so Taurus waits for the signal, but nobody really explains what this sign means. Nobody can clearly describe what Taurus is waiting for to happen before it finally takes action, not even Taurus itself. Sometimes it feels like prudence. I'll only go when I'm sure. Sometimes it feels like wisdom. I've learned that acting too soon is costly. Sometimes it has no name at all. It's just a feeling that it's not quite right yet, that something is missing, that the moment hasn't arrived yet. And there's something very specific that happens. When Taurus sustains this wait long enough, it starts to seem like the smartest thing in the world. The wait justifies itself. Each reason not to act seems more solid than the last. And Taurus, which has an extraordinary capacity for building coherent mental structures, erects, brick by brick, an architecture of reasons to continue waiting. The problem isn't waiting itself. The problem is what happens when waiting becomes the default state. When waiting becomes so comfortable, so familiar, so ingrained that Taurus no longer feels the pressure inside, no longer recognizes the weight it carries. And that's exactly where the signs start to appear. Not dramatically, not with fanfare. The signs arrive the way signs really do arrive, quietly, mundanely, almost formless. A conversation that changes direction, an opportunity that appears unexpectedly, an inner feeling that something has opened up, even if you can't name what it is. And Taurus looks at that sign and thinks, not yet, it's not enough. I need more clarity. I need more security. I need to be sure before I move. And the signal goes through. And another one comes, and another one goes too. Not because Taurus is incapable of seeing, but because there is a mechanism within Taurus, ancient, sophisticated, carefully constructed over many years, that intercepts every signal before it reaches a decision and reclassifies it as insufficient. Have you ever felt that? That moment when, deep down, you knew it was time, and yet a part of you found a reason not to go? Not a made-up reason, a real, solid reason that seemed completely valid, completely necessary. A reason that Taurus built with the same skill it uses to build everything that is lasting. But this time, what he built was a wall, and the wall turned out to be too beautiful to be torn down. This transforms waiting into something that Taurus can rarely honestly name, no longer genuine wisdom, no longer refined judgment, but a mechanism that has grown larger than what it should protect and that now operates autonomously, intercepting signals before they reach the decision. It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose speaks precisely to this blind spot that Taurus carries, not the lack of opportunity, but the difficulty in recognizing one's own readiness before the world needs to confirm it. It's material that goes straight to the mechanism this video is exposing. That inner voice that says, not yet, when the sign is already in your hand. The book works with Taurus's ability to find real, inner solidity, not the solidity built as a defense, but the one that arises from recognizing who you already are. That inner abundance that Taurus intuitively understands, but sometimes spends a lifetime trying to confirm externally. You're at a very specific point in this conversation right now. You've just recognized something about yourself that you can't unsee. And this state, this moment of openness where the perception is still alive, where the discomfort is still active, is exactly when a tool like this makes the most difference. Not tomorrow, when Taurus's routine has already built up another layer of reasons to wait. Now. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And before we continue, tell us in the comments, when was the last time you felt a sign coming and you let it pass without acting? Write it down below, no judgment, just for yourself to record what you're seeing. There's a word Taurus rarely uses to describe themselves: architect. Taurus thinks of themselves as someone who waits, who observes, who sustains. But there's a very precise architecture being built in that waiting, and Taurus is the author of every detail of it. For waiting to function as protection, it needs structure. It needs reasons to support it. It needs an internal logic that makes sense every time someone from the outside or the inside questions why Taurus hasn't moved yet. And Taurus, one of the most constructive beings of the zodiac, produces reasons with impressive efficiency. The problem isn't that the reasons are false. The problem is that they're too true. Every reason Taurus builds for their expectations is legitimate. It has a foundation. It has history. It has logic. It has a life experience that sustains it. And that's exactly why it's so difficult to dismantle it, because dismantling a true reason seems reckless. It seems like you're giving up hard-won wisdom. But there's a distinction that changes everything, and Taurus will feel it the moment they hear it. There's a huge difference between using a past experience as a learning opportunity and using it as a permanent argument for inaction. Learning says, I learned that X hurts, so I will move with more awareness next time. The trap says, I learned that X hurts, so I'll never go near X again. The second version seems safer, and it is for a while. But there comes a point where the area that Taurus has decided not to frequent anymore is growing. It's including things that were never X, but that ended up on the same side of the line that Taurus drew on the ground to protect itself. And Taurus wakes up one day and realizes that the line he drew to protect himself has become the boundary of the land where he lives. It's a golden trap, beautiful, sturdy, too comfortable to be questioned. And who is more capable of building a comfortable prison than Taurus, who transforms almost everything he touches into art? The signal you were expecting might be on the other side of that line. And the question that remains isn't about the signal, it's about who drew the line and why. What I just described, the golden trap, the line that keeps growing until it becomes the limits of life itself, has a name, an origin, and most importantly, a way out. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose comes in exactly here. Not as empty motivation, but as a map to recognize the limits you yourself have drawn, and to distinguish which ones still protect you and which ones already imprison you. For Taurus, this distinction is not obvious. It's the deepest work there is, and this book works through this territory with the precision that Taurus demands and deserves. Content availability is limited. It may be taken down at any time. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. For a long time, Taurus looked outward, waiting for a sign to come from there, from a circumstance that would align, from a person who would confirm it, from a moment when all the external variables would finally say, now, yes. And life went on with Taurus in this position of active waiting, present, attentive, burdened, but always looking in the wrong direction, because the signal was never from outside. This is not a metaphor. It is literally what happens with Taurus. The readiness he seeks to confirm in the world already exists within him, accumulated, built, real. What is lacking is not circumstance. What is lacking is recognition. Think of a seed in the ground. It doesn't wait for rain to germinate. Rain helps, but it's not what decides. What decides is the soil temperature, the heat that's inside the earth itself, that invisible internal heat that the seed feels before anything else. When the soil is ready, the seed germinates, even if it hasn't rained, even if the sky is cloudy. Taurus is that seed, and the temperature of the soil is the inner feeling of readiness that he has spent years seeking to confirm in external circumstances. The problem is that there's a noise, a very specific internal noise, so constant, so familiar, that Taurus doesn't even realize it's there anymore. It's the sound of the protection mechanism working, the permanent hum of the system that says, it's not enough, it's not safe, wait longer. And this noise drowns out the ground temperature. It drowns out the internal signal that has been trying to be heard for years. To hear what's inside, Taurus needs, for the first time, to be silent in the place where the most noise exists, in the construction of reasons to keep waiting. And that's not easy. Not for a sign that has built an entire identity around the solidity of waiting, recognizing that waiting has already served its purpose and that now it is the obstacle requires a kind of courage that goes completely against Taurus's instinct. But that's exactly where the transformation begins, not when the external circumstance finally appears, when Taurus listens to the temperature of the ground itself and decides to trust it. What I just described, the temperature of the ground, the inner signal that Taurus has spent years ignoring in favor of external confirmations, is the core of work that cannot be done alone and cannot be done in haste. The divine path that guides your zodiac, sign to a life of purpose, offers exactly that. How Taurus learns to recognize their readiness before the world needs to confirm it. How to be silent in the right place. How to distinguish the noise of the protective mechanism from the real voice that is being muffled. It's the kind of content that Taurus reads once and recognizes as something they already knew, but never had the words to name, and it's available for a limited time. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. There's something that happens when Taurus truly decides that's unlike anything else in the zodiac. It's not quick, it's not impulsive. It doesn't have the urgency of Aries or the strategic planning of Scorpio. Taurus's decision has a specific quality. It's irreversible. When Taurus truly decides, they don't back down. Not because of stubbornness, although sometimes it is, but because Taurus's decision stems from such a deep, consolidated place that reversing it would require dismantling something that took a long time to build. That's why Taurus waits so long before deciding. They know instinctively that when they truly decide, they're committing to something irreversible. And this awareness makes the wait longer, and the decision, when it finally comes, more powerful. Think of an earthquake. There is no warning, there is no negotiation. The earth doesn't ask permission before moving, and when it moves, everything around it registers. An earthquake is not the result of a sudden impulse. It is the result of pressure accumulating long enough to find the exact point of release. That's how Taurus is. The strength unleashed when Taurus truly decides isn't the strength of a single moment. It's the strength of everything accumulated during the waiting, of every signal processed without acting, of every time the pressure was withstood without yielding, of every layer of strength built while the world thought they were simply standing still. And when that force is unleashed with direction, with the clarity and readiness that only come from within, what happens is not just a decision. It's a reorganization of what is possible. There's a difference that needs to be made here. The decision born from exhaustion, the one Taurus makes when they simply can't wait any longer, doesn't have the same quality as the decision born from recognition. One is reactive, the other is sovereign. And Taurus deep down knows how to distinguish between the two. You know when you're moving because you were pushed and when you're moving because you chose to. What this video is working on is the second one, the sovereign decision, the one that is independent of favorable circumstances or external pressure, the one that comes from the firmest place that exists within Taurus, that place he built throughout the entire weight without realizing he was building it. But there's one last thing, one final layer, and it's the hardest of all. It's not the signal. It's not the circumstance. It's not even the recognition of internal readiness. It's something much simpler and much more difficult than all of that. It's an authorization. No one can give Taurus what it needs most to move forward. No astrologer, no family member, no close friend, no sequence of external events can deliver what Taurus truly expects. Because what Taurus expects, deep down, at the most honest level of everything, is not a sign, it's permission. And the permission that Taurus needs is one that only he himself can grant. Imagine a locked box. Inside is the key that unlocks the door to movement, to decision, to the life that Taurus feels exists but hasn't yet touched. The box is locked because Taurus at some point decided they weren't ready for what was inside, that they needed more, that when the right moment arrived, the box would open on its own. But the box doesn't open by itself. The box only opens when Taurus decides it's ready, not when the world decides for it. This is the authorization. It's not a grand gesture. It's not a public declaration. It's something much more intimate than that. It's the moment when Taurus stands before itself, not before the world, not before circumstances, but before the part of itself that has been waiting for a long time, and acknowledges, I see what is here. I see the strength I have accumulated. I see the sign, and I authorize myself to move. That sounds simple, and it is, but simple doesn't mean easy. To reach this point, Taurus needs to do something that goes completely against its deepest nature. It needs to trust itself more than it trusts the security it has built around itself. It needs to bet on the strength within before having external proof that this strength is sufficient. For the first time, it needs to be solid ground itself, not the wall around it. And there is exactly one thing that separates Taurus, who keeps waiting, from Taurus, who finally acts: the willingness to authorize themselves, to stop asking permission from the world and start recognizing their own inner authority. That's the sign. It didn't come from outside, it was inside all along. What I just described, the inner authorization, the key inside the box that only Taurus can use, is not something that is achieved all at once. It is a work of recognition that happens in layers, silently, without haste. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign towards a life of purpose was built for this, to help Taurus find the inner authority that has always been there, but which has been buried under layers of waiting and very well-constructed reasons. A material that speaks the language of Taurus, deep, concrete, without shortcuts, and available for a limited time. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. There's an image that always comes back to me when I think of Taurus finally giving themselves permission. It's spring. Not spring as a beautiful metaphor, but spring as a natural phenomenon. Spring doesn't give warnings. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for winter to agree to leave, nor for the wind to confirm that it's the right time, nor for someone from the outside to signal that it's okay to begin. Spring simply comes, because that's what the earth does when it's ready. And the earth isn't ready because of something that happened outside. It's ready because what accumulated during the winter, all that pent-up energy, all that force that lay dormant while the world slept, has finally reached the right temperature. The temperature that only the earth knows, that only the earth feels, that doesn't depend on anyone's approval. That's Taurus when it's allowed. It's not an explosion. It's not an emergency. It's a blossoming, slow, deep, absolutely irreversible. The root that kept deepening while it seemed still. The seed that kept accumulating strength while it seemed asleep. The soil that kept preparing itself while the world watched and saw only immobility. And when Taurus truly flourishes, when it acts from that place of inner empowerment, from the recognition of its own readiness, there is no more consistent force in the zodiac than that. There is no firmer decision. There is no more deeply rooted movement. Because Taurus doesn't act on impulse. Taurus acts with certainty, and when that certainty is born from within, not from waiting for an external sign, but from recognizing a force that has always been there, whatever moves transforms. The sign you've been waiting for, Taurus, no longer needs to come from outside. It's always been here, in every layer of strength you've accumulated while waiting, in every time you held on when it would have been easier to give in. In every moment you stood firm when the world around you moved aimlessly. The earth that holds everything together knows when it is ready to bloom. And you are.